Welcome to Radio Fixer's channel. Subscribe for upcoming videos. This is part 2 of restoration of 1938 Montgomery Ward airline. This radio was damaged in shipping process, so I'm trying my best to preserve this and hopefully can bring it back to life. Enjoy the video. My understanding is that they made 3 different colors of this radio. One of them was the black Bakelite, is a model 355. The other was the brown Bakelite, model 365. And the last one was ivory, model 375. Enjoy the video. Alright, this is next day. As you saw, I treated with this last night. Of course, follow direction. It will tell you how long you leave it there. Some area I had to do it 2 times due to the heavy rust. Then after that, you need to clean it. So I got a small brush, soak it in the water, and I went over the area, clean this chemical. Then after that, let it sit, of course, upside down overnight to be totally dry. And this is next day. As you see, it's totally dry. You see all those rust, they're all gone. Some area like here, you see the yellow area, that is normal, it's not rust anymore. It took a while to do this. I was very careful, doing my best not to get it on the wires. But if it gets in the wires, it's okay, because you're going to clean it and wash it. And if any of those wires go bad, I can replace them. So that's not going to be a big deal. And the way you replace this, if you have to replace it, don't take both sides out at the same time. Take one side out, solder the new wire, then go across, take the other side out, then solder it right there so you remember where everything goes. Alright, now it's done. So next thing what I need to do, the volume control is not working rust out totally. I have to take that out and work on that. But before doing that, I'm going to check the power transformer. I'm hoping it works. And up to now, I haven't tested anything. Up to now, I just was cleaning. It was disgusting, as you saw how bad it was. And I, of course, move stuff around, take some wires so I can get to them, move them. I didn't cut anything except those 2 capacitors, as you saw earlier. 2 large capacitors, so I'd be able to see what's going on underneath. Just want to show you. Also put those chemical right here, so be ready to be painted. It was a little rusty as well. Also what I did, again, use this, put all over transformer, as you see. Same process I used. Now this is going to be ready to be painted. Again, the reason I'm doing this, I don't want this rust destroy the radios. This radio survived this many years, so it's better take time and make sure everything is being taken care of so the rust doesn't destroy it. You see here, this is the volume control and switch. It's not working at all. You see how much rust is on it, so this need to come out, totally need to come out. See how much rust? So after checking the power transformer, and then I can take that out and work on it. I'm excited to fix this radio. Hopefully I can get it going. We will see. Okay, this is the next day. Left this in the attic. I sprayed it and let it dry. You see, there's no more rust anywhere. This is the clear coat that I used. As you can see, it's a wood metal, and this is the satin. I didn't want to use very glossy or anything like that under the chassis, so I sprayed it. I left it in the attic overnight. Hopefully the rust is not going to come back anymore. One thing I want to share with you, to be able to spray old area and get rid of the rust old area, what I did, I just cut one side of the capacitors As you see where they are, I took a bunch of pictures where they go before cutting them, pull them up all like that, so when I spray, the clear coat get everywhere. Hopefully that makes sense. But I took picture for each of them. See, I didn't remove them. If you don't have electronic background, do not remove all of them. Just one side and take a lot of pictures. Remember, I also removed volume control and on and off switch, which is a 1 unit. Again, the purpose of remove all those, that part need to be taken care of. Had a lot of rust, but I also want to be able to get to all the rust area. And also I masked him, the one that I want to solder back so the clear coat doesn't go over it. So that is how I look like now. See, all the rust is gone. And by putting clear coat over it, hopefully going to protect it for a long time. I used paper towel to cover area that I didn't want clear coat get to it. The reason again I use paper towel is easy to remove. See, like that. And there's one underneath here. I'm going to take that one out too. You see? Again, I didn't want the clear coat get those area. Then of course I press all of them down here so I remember, where they were hooked up. So later on when the time comes to replace them, I know exactly where they go. Because still I need to do a bunch of other things before I start changing the capacitors. Alright, let's check the secondary speaker transformer. Put it here and here. The speaker transformer, the secondary is fine. Now we're going to test the primary of a speaker transformer. This is tube 6F6. As you see here in the schematic that I draw to make my job easier, is the pin 3 and 4. So we're gonna go, we counted 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so primary of the speaker transformer is fine too. That is encouraging, that's good. Now we need to test the other 2 wires that goes to the magnet portion of the speaker, I call it. So let's figure those out. So you see these 2 wires goes to the transformer that we tested, so this is fine. Now we need to test this portion of a speaker. This is where actually you create the magnet. These are the 2 wires, so I'm going to go underneath to see where you hooked up so I can test them. So I'm checking under the chassis. I see that the speaker magnet coil, there's a 2 wires comes out of this hole. One is black, goes to here. The other one goes to pin 5 of 5Y3. It's right here. As you see, this is the wire. Okay, so let's test those. Hopefully this is going to be fine too. If your multimeter show infinity or mega, it's going to be a bad coil, but here is K ohm, 1000 ohm, so that is fine. That is awesome. And this is the schematic for this radio. This section here, this is where we're going to focus for power transformer. This is where it's located. In power transformer, this is the primary winding. As you see, there are 3 windings for the secondary of power transformer. We're going to focus in each of these windings separately. Let's first focus on this section, the primary. To test the primary, you make sure the switch is closed. You put a multimeter, one here in the plug and another the other side of the plug, and you read your multimeter, and it should be some reasonable reading. If it's infinity or there is no reading, it means this section, something's wrong with it. Let's move to the next section. Let's start the secondary from the easiest one. And this is for the pilot light where it's located. You put one side of multimeter to the ground. The other side is marked in the schematic as X. Those are the heater. See, each of these tubes, they have heaters. They're all pin 7, as you see, pin 7. So you put the other side of multimeter, let's say here on 6F6, you put it in pin 7, and it should be some type of reasonable reading here. If there's an infinity reading or there is no reading, that means this section is not working. All right, let's now focus to the next section. This section, we're going to pull the multimeter 1 on pin 2, another pin 8, and to see, what type of reading we get. Again, this should be some reasonable reading. Let's focus on next. This coil, it has a 3 section, as you see, there's 3 sections. Usually it's been tapped somewhere, in the center. It depends of the, the coil. So you put the multimeter one side on pin 4 of 5Y3, of course. The second side of multimeter, it goes, this is where the capacitor is, capacitor 33. If we look at bottom here, the schematic mark 33, there are dual electrolytic capacitors. Each of them, there are 5 microfarad. So you're going to go right here. There's a connection to the speaker coil and also the capacitor. This is where you put your multimeter and should again show some type of reasonable reading. Next, we're going to test this section of the coil, the bottom section. Put again multimeter on pin 6, and the other one is the same area that we discussed. And again, should be some reasonable reading. Next, we want to test the entire this section, all the coil from the top to the bottom. So one goes in pin 4, another pin 6. Hopefully this helps you to test your power transformer or this radio. I highly suggest watch the other video that I made, a detailed video regarding power transformer, and that will help you out if you're brand new. The more you watch, it will help you. Since all the tests are fine, we can continue restoring this radio. I'm just checking all the resistors in this radio. As you see, multimeter shows 83K. Okay, I'm going to put this picture up here. And as you see, this resistor, the body of resistor is yellow. On the right hand side, the end is purple and the center band is orange. Let's key this information into the database that I designed to make my job easier. Here I call it vintage. Resistor is located under resistor. Let's open this up. So these are the bands A, C, and B. So A, the body was yellow. Number B in the end is purple or violet. And C, band C, is orange. As you see here, the database shows this is 47K ohm resistor. Now let's check a schematic to see what the schematic is telling us. We are looking at this resistor right here, which is mark 27, which is on tube 6A8. One side of the resistor is hooked up to pin 1. See, this is, they call it key. That is where you start clockwise. This is number 1. And the other side of resistor is hooked up to number 5. So let's look at the chart on a schematic. The chart here shows, is number 27 resistor, that is a 47M. In old schematic, M really was K. You see, I put a note here. If it's M ohm is equal to 1,000 ohm. They used to call it M, but then they changed it to K, so be careful with that. So here is a 47K as well. Alright, so all the number match. As you see, the ohm meter, it shows twice as much. Definitely we're going to change this resistor, and I use the same process for other resistor. Always you want to check the resistor. Since these radios are old and resistor, they're going to lose their value. There are 3 types of capacitors in this radio. We're going to talk about each of them separately. This is a reminder, anytime you're testing capacitor, one side of the capacitor should be disconnected from the circuit. Otherwise, the reading is not going to be accurate. To give you an example, when I remove a capacitor like this one, that it shows 0.005 microfarad, I come here, go to the database. Here under compatible capacitor, I select that. Then I come here on the drop down, select the capacitor that I have is a 0.005. Here the system tells me the part number that I need to use is a 502 right here. Those are the yellow jacket capacitors. Of course, from here I can change the range to any percentage that I want. So here in the bottom, it gives me a lot of information. It shows me, of course, microfarad and the minimum range and maximum range. If the old capacitor is between these two range, the capacitor should be fine. Also, it shows me on NF or even PF, picofarad, nanofarad, and microfarad. Since majority of multimeter, when the capacitor is that small, it shows in NF. So that's why I use this to make my job much simpler. It tells me what part number I need. Quickly I can check the capacitor to see what is showing me. Alright? I will replace all these capacitors, but quickly I'm checking to see how bad they are. As you know, I already cut one side, so hooked it up here. This is supposed to be 0.1 microfarad, 600 volts, and here it shows 152 NF. Since I cut one side, I can test it. And that one is 0.05 microfarad, and here it shows 3.7 picofarad. So you see all these things, they go bad through the years. That's why we're changing them. You always want, as I mentioned every video, always want to check the new part before installing it. Sometimes in manufacturing environment, the part might go through and is not a good part. As you notice here, when I remove this capacitor, so I left some extra piece here from the old capacitor and some here. And I'm going to use this, of course, going to make a pigtail, put it in those areas and solder it. So sometimes I get a wire like this, so I take the metal of them out. I take it out like that. This is coming out. And so I can use this as insulation. As you see, it goes in perfect like that. You can use this or shrink tube. It depends what you have available. So I'm going to measure this right here. Let's see, the one going to be right here, another here. So those are the area I'm going to put insulation on this. This is a great tool to do this type of work. So what I did, I cut a small piece, as you see. Get the smallest screwdriver you have like that. Then twist in this right like this. You don't want they be so close to each other. You want a little gap in it. I will show you. So that's what you want, like that. So when you solder it, the solder goes in. Alright? You see both ends? is a pigtail. Okay, so I'm going to insert it here. One goes like that. Another goes in here. Now they're ready to be soldered. That's a quick and easy. Don't want to touch anything. Don't put them so close to each other. Give it a little distance, as you see, like that. So let me solder it. That is one. And that's the second one. Now let's focus on other capacitors. Of course, capacitor, you always want to disconnect one side from the circuit. This multimeter does not read something this small, and that is why I'm using this. You see, this is red, green, brown. Is reading 219 picofarad. So again, something that low, this multimeter does not read it. So that, again, that's why I'm using this. I'm going to key those colors into the software to see what the results are. Here I'm going to select molded Mica 3 dots capacitor. As you see, there are different design of this capacitor, but they all have 3 dots. So I'm going to select red, green, brown. Here the result shows us that is a 250 picofarad. The minimum can be 200, the maximum 300. Mine is pretty close to 200. It still was in acceptable range. I want to check my capacitors. If I have any of this 250 picofarad, I'm going to replace it. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of them that they're pretty close to the acceptable range, but I prefer to change them so down the road I don't have any problem with them. Alright, I was able to find several capacitors, the 250, this 253, so these are going to be great. I'm going to replace both of these since they were pretty low. I'm going to try to see if I can use this capacitor, maybe put the new capacitor inside this. So this plate was right over it. I already take it out. So this is pretty interesting capacitor. Let me tell you why. Of course they marked it as this is a 5 microfarad and they're each 250 volts. But this is the first time I'm seeing that the red is a common positive. Every capacitor that I worked up to now, the common was a negative, not positive. That's why this is very different than everything else I see up to now. And so there's a 3-color wire, brown, black, red. Again, red is both positives are hooked up together. But here they marked it, and I'm glad I have this, because I was planning to put, both negative together. And that's the way usually capacitors are. But this is totally different, so be very cautious when you work with this radio. So 10 microfarad is going to come out here, but the negative side, it hook up different place. This is crazy. I never saw something like that. Just want to share this with you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try my best to take this out. So I'm heating up my one of this cheap soldering iron, and I'm going to try to take this out. Of course, always you want to protect your hand, wear gloves, because it's a messy job. See, when this is hot, it goes in like a water. You see how it's coming out? It's coming out. Man, it took forever to come out. I guess this is one of them, because there's one more inside, you see. For the second capacitor in the bottom, you see I put this screw in, totally in. Then what I did, I got the tool, move it around and pull it out. Of course, it's loosened, obviously. It came out the second part. So as you see, it was two different capacitors in there. They're all dried up, as you see. As you saw, it's finally out. You see how they did it. This one was hooked up in the bottom, and of course it has connection here too. So all this was inside here. So now I'm going to work on this, trying to protect it, make it look better. All the wax, it comes out of it, so I need to protect the paper. I'm going to use glue to do that. Of course, I'm going to use this glue. This is diluted with water. A paintbrush, of course, you need. What I did here, I got a piece of foam, put a little wood here. I'm going to set this right here on top of it so I can coat this. I'm going to start around, but when it gets to a certain way, I have to put it up here, of course. So let's get it started. Just put a one layer on it, let it dry, and if it needs, I'm going to put the second. After this dry, I'm going to decide do I need another layer or not. You know, the reason I'm doing this, I want to protect the paper. And these are cardboard and also all the information. So now I'm going to leave it like that. Let it dry. We will see after it dried. Alright, this is the first coat dried. You see now how clear this is. And since this paper was so dry, absorbed all the glue into the paper. I'm going to do one more coat on this. As I mentioned earlier, this radio has a 5 microfarad multi-capacitors. I looked at through my capacitors. Unfortunately, I do not have a 5 microfarads. What I will do, I'm going to use 2 capacitors, going to put them together to get that 5 microfarad value. I have one is a 3.3 microfarad, another 2.2 microfarad. Of course, if you add those together, it's going to be 5 microfarad. Alright, what I'm doing, I'm using Teflon tubing that can handle 18 gauge. That's a 300 volts. So I cut a very small piece, as you see, for each of them. This is the positive side. So I'm going to put this right here, side by side. See what I'm doing? I put them together. Now I can twist them like that. Be gentle with it so you don't break them from the capacitor. This 2 is going to give me 5 microfarad. Okay, you see this positive now? Then I can solder the correct wire color right to here. And these 2, of course, goes together. I'm going to use the same concept. Alright, you see, there's a 5 microfarad. And of course, you already know that. You know the negative is marked, so you want to make sure the negatives are together. You see that? Of course, the other one, positive, usually they don't mark them. So we got 5. And always test your capacitor. To give you example, this one, these are brand new capacitors. This one, it says 3.3. This one is 2.2. So you assume, you know, you put in those numbers together, that's 5.5. But when I test them, this was about 3 microfarad, and this was about 2 microfarad. That's why I'm getting 5. So always make sure to test each capacitor separately and make sure it gives you the proper reading. Just I want to share this with you. Alright, this is the second coat. You see how nice it is now? So it's totally dry. And meanwhile this was drying, made this all put together. This is of course the negative side, as you know they're together right here. This goes to the brown. The center is red, all the positive they're together. And this is another ground that is the black. Shrink tube. Of course, the red one goes in the center. Get a lighter. Then after all this is going to be installed right inside here, like that. Alright? At this time, I want to take the opportunity and thank my subscribers with their uplifting comment. You always encourage me to upload more videos, since this is just a hobby of mine. Again, I appreciate you. Enjoy all these videos, and you all have an awesome day. Take care. If you're interested to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and you will be notified when a new video being uploaded. You have a great day.